Okay, everybody ready? I got 3 words for this group. We got next. We could have a pretty good pickup games out of this room, huh, folks? Thank you for coming today. My name is Rick Brown, the chairman of the DC Basketball Hall of Fame, and we're really honored to be inducting 8 great new members to our great Hall of Fame. Players, coaches, contributors. It's a 42-year organization that has honored the greatest basketball players of our area. So thank you for coming today. We're going to be honoring these people, and we go back from Sligo Creek to Turkey Thicket to Candy Cane City to Tyson's Corner Sport and Health Club, all the way from those places to the NBA championships, WNBA championships, NCAA championships. People in this room have won all kinds of championships, city championships, so we're really glad to have them. Before we start, I do want to introduce our existing Hall of Fame members who are here today. When I call your name, if you could please stand up and remain standing. First, Brenda Fries, Coach Brenda Fries. Coach Dan Harwood. Dan Harwood. Eddie Peterson. Eddie Peterson. Brian Magid. Brian Magid. Brian, stand up. Dave Bing. Mayor Dave Bing. Red Jenkins. Red Jenkins. I don't see Red yet. Johnny Holiday. Johnny, please stand up. Phil Chenier. Phil Chenier. Steve Buckhands. Tommy Amaker. Tommy Amaker. Tommy get here yet? Tommy Amaker. Adrian Dantley's supposed to show up. Stu Vetter. Dave Carrasco Jr. here representing his dad. Dave Carrasco. E.B. Henderson. E.B. Henderson representing his grandfather, E.B. Henderson. Derek Wittenberg. Witt, stand up. All right. And did I miss anybody? And anybody else that came in I might not have seen? All right. Thank you for your contribution to this game, folks. This event couldn't happen without a great committee. I want to have my committee members please stand up and be recognized. Penny Green. Penny, please stand up. Red Jenkins, not here yet. Brian Magid. Brian. James Butch McAdams, one of our honorees, is also on our committee. Mike Pepper. Mike, please stand up. Pete Strickland. Petey. And Tony Upson. The great UDC, Tony Upson. Tony, thank you, sir. And I wouldn't be an event without honoring our founder, Mr. Bob Gagan. Many of you knew Bob, who founded the Capitol Classic and this Hall of Fame event 41 years ago. Bob ran this event for 35, 36, 37 years. Unfortunately, passed away a couple of years ago. So just take a moment of silence in the honor of Mr. Bob Gagan. All right, thank you. And they once asked a coach if he'd had a successful season. And he looked at him, he thought for a minute, and he says, you know, I don't know, I'll let you know in 20 years. And that's what we do, right? That's what a coach does. It's about teaching, mentoring. It's about seeing these men and women you're developing and what they're going to do. So you look around this room, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. Some of you have coached people in this room going back 50, 60 years. So we can all be proud of this great sport. Washington, D.C., one of the great cities of America to develop the sport of basketball. We're very blessed. In the book, the #1 bestseller, Times bestseller book that came out 2 years ago called The Good Life by Dr. Robert Waldinger and Mark Scholes, which is a summarization of 85 years of following 750 men and tracking what made them happy. What was the secret to their success? How they lived so long. And the one thing that was dominant, consistent, was connections. People are connected. Keep it connected with your friends. Keep it connected with organizations. Keep it connected. So I'm going to encourage each of you to look around this room and look at people who are in this room who you may not have seen in a few years. And make a point to be in touch with them. Make a point to give them that phone call. Make a point to have a little Zoom call. We have a group of guys that played together for 35 years, one night a week. 4 or 5 of them are in this room today. And we have Zoom calls every couple months just to get together and say hi to the guys. So the connections are so important. that I encourage you to continue to keep those connections up. And I'm going to tell you a small story about connections and a miracle that happened to me involving someone in this room today. Back in July, my wife and I were attending a celebration of life for a friend of ours named Denise Sissel, who passed away, and it was in Detroit, Michigan. My wife and I have never been to Detroit. We drove to Detroit. We went to the celebration of life, probably 300 to 400 people there. And as we're getting ready to walk out, I bump into a guy about 6'7". And being the guy that I am, I can't help but say, "Hey, you look like a ball player." He says, "Yeah, I'm a ball player. I played a little bit." "Where'd you play?" He said, "I played at Howard." And I said, "Really?" He says, "But you may know my father. He's a little more famous than I am. My father's name is Earl Lloyd." And I about died. I pulled out my phone and I said, "You're not going to believe this. I just received the final text today, the vote, to vote your dad into the DC Basketball Hall of Fame." What are the chances that that day I got that text and that I would meet his son out of the blue? So the point is that we're all connected, aren't we, folks? We're one big family. Let's celebrate, enjoy the day, keep in touch with your friends, and I'll give you a little bit of idea what we're going to do. We're simply going to start the buffet. They're going to come in and put a couple of tables. You guys can slide back there. Once we get everybody seated, we'll start our video program, and I'll introduce our MC for the day, Mr. Pete Strickland. Okay, we got a little, while we're doing that, we got a little 3-4 minute opening video. We'll play that for you now, okay?
Hello, and welcome to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame. Since 1981, the Hall of Fame gives recognition to worthy players, coaches, referees, executives, and special contributors to the sport. The nation's capital has long been regarded as a hotbed for basketball, past and present, and the Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame continues to honor the legends of DC area basketball with memorable banquets like today. Founded in 1981 by the late Bob Gagan, who also started the Capital Classic All-Star Game, his vision was to recognize and honor great achievements while providing a wonderful opportunity for people to meet and mingle with legends. Today's new Hall of Fame class of inductees will become part of history and join a notable team of Hall of Fame members that are now a permanent local shrine to basketball greatness from the Washington, D.C. area. We would like to thank and recognize our Hall of Fame sponsors who helped make this honorary event possible. Planet Fitness. With more than 2,000 clubs worldwide, your fitness is essential. Represented by Victor Brick, Chairman of Planet Fitness. The Pacific Institute. Transformative programs to unleash high-performance results. Represented by Rick Brown, Senior Project Director for TPI. We'd like to thank these special contributors as well, all who helped make today happen. Finally, a big shout out to legendary play-by-play sportscaster, TV, and radio personality Johnny Holiday for narrating the video bios of today's inductees. Thank you for attending and enjoy today's program of the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame, right here, right now.
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. A couple of notes. We did have a couple of our Hall of Fame members come in late. Can we have Red? Would you stand up? Red Jenkins, say hello down there, everybody. Red Jenkins. And Tommy Amaker. Tommy came in. Tommy, can you say hi to everybody? And Adrian Danley. Adrian, can you please say hi to everybody? AD's back there. Here's AD. Hey. So I think we're represented here today, huh, folks? I would also like to mention, for those of you who have friends who would like to watch this, you know that you can text to them right now. This is being live streamed for free all around the world. So you go to YouTube, First Amendment Sports. Just if you wanted to text some friends, YouTube, First Amendment Sports. And that will be broadcast live. Put it on your laptop, on your phone. People anywhere in the world can watch this presentation. So to get started, I'm going to introduce our MC. Mr. Pete Strickland, one of the great graduates of DeMatha High School, University of Pittsburgh, 35 years coaching in Division I, and the man who brought basketball back to Ireland. Let's have a big round of applause for our friend Pete Strickland.
Thank you. Rick, I appreciate your loyalty. I'm on the committee. Nobody raised their hand when he asked who wanted to be the MC. I took a bathroom break at the wrong time. I appreciate your loyalty, and particularly because it's like a Broadcasters Hall of Fame here. I mean, Johnny Holiday and Dave's here and Steve. It's like, Pete, can you come up and play a few chords on the guitar? B.B. King is sitting right here. B.B. and Eric Clapton is right here. Why would you want me to play the guitar? Jesus, Tommy. Yeah, can't leave for that bathroom. But Rick, thanks a lot. I'm honored to be here and to keep this thing moving. I just asked Mr. Ollie Johnson, I said, Ollie, did Dave Bing pass? And he said, yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was the facilitator. I said, we doesn't get to where he is without doing that, so I'm going to just try to be the facilitator today. All right, our first inductee, and just so nobody starts emailing, these are all done alphabetically by last name, so that'll keep a couple emails away. Our first inductee speaks for himself. The neat thing you're going to see in the video, and you'll see a video on all these guys and gals, is he mentored over 50 people in his life to join him in the corporate world. Johnny will detail that in his video here in a second. And he was married over 50 years. I thought there was two things that were very, very important about this next inductee, Ollie Johnson. Let's watch.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Ollie Johnson.
Ollie Johnson, who graduated from Spingarn High School in Washington, the class of 1961. He was one of the most highly decorated and successful high school and college players to ever come out of the DMV. Johnson's basketball accomplishments include 3-time All-Inter-High, 2-time First-Team All-Metropolitan, 2-time DC Inter-High champion, and city champs in 1961, winning over DeMatha in front of 10,500 fans at Cole Fieldhouse. Johnson averaged 19 points and 17 rebounds for his senior season. Heavily recruited, he went out west and had a remarkable career at the University of San Francisco from 1962 to 1965. His teams had a 65-19 overall win record and 3 NCAA tournaments, 3 West Coast Athletic Conference championships. He was first-team All-WCAC 3 times, the WCAC Player of the Year twice, and 2-time All-American. Johnson averaged 20 points and 16 rebounds for his career, both still ranking in USF all-time top 10 almost 60 years later. He was a 6'7" power forward with a strong inside game. Inducted into the USF Hall of Fame in 1974, his jersey number 32 was retired in 2013 alongside the names of Bill Russell and Casey Jones and Mike Farmer. Johnson was drafted in the first round of the 1965 NBA draft by the Boston Celtics, 8th pick overall. After his release by the Celtics, he played overseas in the Belgian Basketball League for 3 seasons before beginning a long and distinguished career as an executive with Giant Food in Washington in their HR department. He hired over 50 ex-basketball players into Giant Food careers in food service and continued to mentor young talent. He's been actively involved working with various nonprofit boards, serving as a member of the USF Board of Trustees, and he considers the USF community to be his family. He's been married to Barbara for 55 years, and they have 1 daughter, Kimberly.
Known for his willingness to serve and uplift others, Ollie Johnson, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Before we bring Ollie up, which will be the normal order of things, the Mayor Emeritus of Detroit, Mr. Dave Bing, would like to say a few words. Let's hear it for Dave.
First thing I want to say, in congratulating to Ollie. What took you so long? When you see all the things that he accomplished, it makes you wonder. But knowing Ollie, low-key as he is and always has been, he never tries to promote himself. True story. Our high school coach, Dr. William Roundtree, when I became a varsity player, Dr. Roundtree took me aside and said, I want you to watch this guy, Ollie Johnson, because that's who you should be like. Here's a guy that never worries about the accolades, not a flashy guy, not a flashy player, but a guy who's a role model for all of us at Spingarn. And after he left, we saw all the things that he accomplished at the University of San Francisco. But upon coming back home is where he had his greatest impact. Not necessarily on the basketball court, but in the corporate community and the community at large here in the greater Washington area. I'm so pleased to have had the chance to play with Ollie because he made my life and my game easier. I know when we needed a rebound, I knew who to look to. When we needed a basket, I knew who to look to. Ollie didn't get all the accolades in high school that I think he should have gotten. But boy, he's lived a great life. And there's nobody, in my opinion, more worthy of the honor that he should receive today. My teammate, my friend, Ollie, congratulations for everything that you are. Thank you.
Dave, I think I can tell you that we're catching up. We're catching up. Speak for the committee, we're catching up. We're catching up. And one more gentleman wanted to speak on Ollie's behalf, his teammate from USF, Dennis Lucy. Dennis? Uh-oh, there's 3 sheets of paper. Let me take a couple of those from you, Dennis.
This will be very quick here. I've known Ollie Johnson for over 60 years. We were both at the University of San Francisco back in the early 60s. We all know about Ollie. As Johnny Holliday mentioned earlier, he was the first-team All-American. He was the first-round draft choice of the Boston Celtics when there were only 9 teams in the NBA, 9 teams. His performance in almost beating UCLA in 2 regional finals, in one game losing by only 4 points, and UCLA going on to win their first 2 national championships, caused John Wooden, the great UCLA coach, to say this about Ollie. Ollie Johnson was the best center I've ever seen on the low post for position and finesse. We beat USF in 2 regional finals, and Ollie was the MVP. These 2 games were much tougher than our Final 4. But as Dave Bing said, what I really want to talk briefly about is what Ollie has done since finishing his basketball career. His last 4 years were playing for Ford Motor Company in Europe, where Ollie's team won many championships. Ollie returned to Washington with his beautiful bride in 1971 and joined Giant Food. I must state here that if you go to any Jesuit high school or college, and the Jesuits today have 77 high schools in the United States, 2 here in Washington, Gonzaga and Georgetown Prep, at 27 universities like USF, Georgetown, Boston College, Creighton, you will see that the paramount objective of a Jesuit education is to form men and women for others. This is the universal mission statement for Jesuit schools, emphasizing that the privilege of education carries with it the responsibility to use one's knowledge for the broader benefit of mankind. Ali personifies this objective, and here is how. He joined Giant in 1971 as a director of personnel. Giant was small then, but they really grew in the next 30 years. He was responsible for hiring close to 1,000 people for Giant. Where did he find these people? He went back to his roots. That's Bengarn, to Eastern, to Ballou, to Dunbar. He went to all inner-city high schools and offered those individuals $18 an hour. That is higher than the minimum wage today. And while those folks jumped at that, and many are still at Giant today. Ali did not stop there. He joined a group called the North Capitol Street Housing Project that was involved with a group called Sursum Corda and Some, so others might eat. They had a number of homes and apartments in the area around New York Avenue and North Capitol Street. The developers had their eyes on that area back in the 80s and 90s. They would offer those renters $1,000 to move. Ali and others immediately saw that this was not going to work. You cannot buy a house for $1,000. Ali and others insisted that if new units were going to be built in that area, the developer would first have to pay the rent for those displaced until the new units were built. And then 40% of these new units would have to be made available to low-income families, and this is still today. Being a Jesuit product, Ali knew about the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, which is the Jesuit Peace Corps, for those out of college. He heard about a new group being formed called the Ignatian Volunteer Corps, an organization for people over 50 who are retired or about to retire. Volunteers are asked to give 1 or 2 days a week utilizing their work experience in organizations that help the poor and disadvantaged. Ali serves today as the Regional Counsel on IBC. There are now about 100 folks in the Washington area doing such volunteer work, and there are literally thousands in the United States. Ali did not stop there. He is also active in a Catholic organization called the Knights of Malta. That group helps support hospitals in war-torn countries like Haiti and Ukraine. In conclusion, there is no stopping Ali Johnson. Congratulations. You definitely are a person for others.
Yeah, help that.
They gave Ollie credit for 50 hires of basketball players. Turns out he hired over 1,000. Thanks a lot, Ollie.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you. Thank you. Very, very impressive. Very impressive. I warned Rick Brown that Dennis Lucy and Dave Bing, I would have to kind of corral them because they talk so much. And because they talk so much, I think what I will say is that I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this honor. I'm very pleased. I'm very honored. Thank you very much. And I will say thank you, and I will sit down. No. That's too easy. That's too easy. It would be an understatement if I didn't say that I'm here today standing in front of you folks because I stood on the shoulders of a lot of people. Start with my family. A very wonderful family, siblings, mother and father. And I always thought I was the luckiest kid in school because every day when I left to go to school, the last person I saw was my mother, and the first person I saw when I returned home was my mother. I'm here today. My brother's here, my big brother, Andrew Johnson, and he's my mentor. I went to Spingarn High School when I think I was in junior high school to see my brother play varsity at Spingarn. And from that day on, that's when I fell in love with the game of basketball. Thank you, brother. Thank you. And Spingarn High School, Bing alluded to that. Special place during that time. Wonderful staff, wonderful students. We had a wonderful time, wonderful coaches. And we played, well, we had a good time playing because we won. We won. And so remember our coach, Dr. William Roundtree. He was special. And I had a thing I was thinking today coming up here. Dr. Roundtree would always tell by our first name. He would say Oliver Johnson, Dave Bing, Donald Hicks. And he never had a nickname for us. And he would say, Bing, David. He would say that. But remember our coach, please. And some of my teammates are here today, and we've always been close, and we're still close, which is an amazing feat. I was thinking also, I called Dave Bing in Detroit and says, Dave, I'm going to be inducted into the DC Basketball Hall of Fame. And before I could finish the sentence, Dave said, I will be there. That's how close we are. I will be there. And the MC, true story, he did ask me that out in the lobby about Dave Bing, and the true story, he didn't make that up. He says, did Dave Bing pass the ball? I said he had to. He was the facilitator. And when he said want to rebound, I said, Ollie, go get the rebound. Go get the rebound. We're very successful. So thanks to teammates for being here. I appreciate that. And then when I graduated, I had many scholarships. I ventured to the University of San Francisco. Mind you, I'm 17 years old. I didn't know where I was going. Coast to coast, got there. I didn't know what to expect. But once I got there, about a week after I arrived on campus, I says, I like this place. I think I'll stay here. It was very nice, nice community. My mother would say that she thanked the Jesuit fathers for taking care of her baby son. Again, experienced playing, a very good team when I was just talking about that. And we were successful. We played, well, Dennis also, very successful, very good team. I wasn't the only player to get that far in the NC2A. We had a good team. I think my sophomore year, we recruited the best 3 players out of Northern California. So it was UCLA and San Francisco in those days. So basically, to give you some text here, we won the WCC West Coast Conference every year. That's the Gonzaga of today. That's the Gonzaga of the day. And then I want to also mention a lot of players are here. I came back to the area after the European League, and we started playing Maryland All-Stars. A lot of them are here today. And this was a combination of players, professional college players, and we got together. We played college teams. We played throughout the United States. We went to Mexico to play international, Mozambique, Maputo, Mozambique to play, and a lot of them are here today. I don't know, just raise your hand. There's so many to mention. Lord Mays, they are. A lot. It's like a homecoming. Like a homecoming. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. We had a great time. I guess every step of the way, high school, college, and the Maryland All-Stars, the common denominator were the people. Great people, and I'm very lucky to experience that in my travels, the amount of good people that I met, and it was step by step, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone being here today. I really appreciate it, and this is an honor. Thank you so much for this honor, and go Dons. Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. Next man, may he rest in peace. You'll see Johnny, and Johnny will talk a lot about his personality, which was galvanizing. But he was accomplished as well. He would be the Ryder Cup teammate that you would want. Absolutely the teammate you would want. He was competitive. He was accomplished. Let's watch Will Jones.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, the late Will Jones.
In DC basketball history, few names shine as brightly as that of William Jones, known to many as Will. At Dunbar High School, he developed into DC's finest jump shooter and led the city in scoring in 1956. It was here that he honed his legendary trash-talking prowess, a trademark of his charismatic style. In 1957, Jones joined DC's first racially integrated college basketball team under Coach Dave Carrasco at American University. He led AU to 3 consecutive Mason-Dixon and Eastern Regional Championships. In 1959, he scored 30 points to lead the Eagles to their first victory over Georgetown. He shattered the school's scoring records, including an astonishing 54-point game in the 1960 NCAA tournament, long before the advent of the three-pointer. He was a first-team All-American and eventually had his number retired. After college, Will played for the Baltimore Bullets of the Eastern Professional Basketball League. He was the Muhammad Ali of basketball, former Georgetown University coach John Thompson told Sports Illustrated in 1980. He was an extremely confident person on the court, and he could be very aggravating, but I liked him. During the summers on DC playgrounds, he played against future Hall of Famers Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor. Transitioning from player to coach, he took the reins at Robinson Secondary School, becoming the first African-American coach in Northern Virginia, earning a reputation as one of the area's most captivating and entertaining coaches. After a stint as an assistant for Lefty Driesell at Maryland, where he recruited excellent African-American players, Jones was named the head coach at the University of the District of Columbia in 1979 and transformed that program, winning the 1982 Division II National Championship. He elevated the game's profile, pioneering diversity in coaching by hiring the NCAA's first female assistant basketball coach, Cheryl Roberts, in 1981. Despite challenges and setbacks, Jones' spirit remained unbreakable. His coaching journey continued at Norfolk State University, where he embraced a new chapter, coaching at the Division I level for 3 seasons with the Spartans. His flamboyance and confidence were matched only by his dedication and compassion. He was married to Dolores Fletcher.
Known for his tremendous self-confidence and swag, Will Jones, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Speaking on Will's behalf, we have 2 people. First, legendary high school coach from Northern Virginia, Woodson High School, Mr. Red Jenkins.
Like Lefty told those people when he was inducted into the National Hall of Fame, just wait till y'all get to 87 and see how you do that so easily. The guy that I'm going to talk about very briefly was one of my very best friends. He came to Robinson High School first as an assistant at Wakefield, then he came to Robinson as head coach, and as they mentioned, the first African-American coach in Northern Virginia. Will was by far the most flamboyant, the most colorful character we've ever had in Northern Virginia. And I've got a couple of stories to prove it. When he came to Robinson, their basketball program was down. It didn't take him long. He realized he had to be a master salesman. And we played them on a Tuesday night to see who was going to be in first place in the league. And there were 5,000 people there on a Tuesday night in a high school game. 2,000 came to see 2 good teams play, and 3,000 came to see Will put on a show. And that he did. We were playing that game, and Chris Nockey was played for us in '76, so he can attest to this. But Will, we were in a tight game. Somehow we stole the ball. We were 1 down with about 10 seconds to go. He had a 6'8" center that played 12 years in the NFL named Joel Patton, who was a monster. And somehow we steal the ball, and I got a guy going to the basket trying to make the winning basket, and he was slow as molasses in January, and he couldn't jump over a beer can. But somehow he got up, and just as he was scared to death that the shot was going to be blocked, he dunked it. Well, there was a rule against dunking. But the trail official, we called him Peekaboo, he was down watching and missed the dunk call. So Will, the clock doesn't stop in high school and college and pro. It stops in the last 2 minutes, but the clock kept running. So Will runs out in the middle of the court with his powder blue leisure suit and his high heel boots and stops the game. So I said, okay, that's a technical foul for him being in the court. And we get the ball out of bounds. We got a 1-point lead with 5 seconds. We can't lose. So the officials confer and they come over. And I say, all right, technical foul, our ball, right? He said, no, coach. He said, you know how Will is. So the next morning I get a phone call. He called me Rooster. We were best friends. We were good buddies. He called me Rooster. He said, Rooster, you filmed that game last night? I said, yeah, we did, Will. He said, I want to see that film. I said, why, Will? He said, because the boy dunked the ball. I know he dunked the ball. I said, Will, he may have, but two things are for sure. We won the game, and you ain't ever going to see that film. AD will appreciate this. Will call me. We had a large camp. You know, the last year we were there, we had like 900 kids. Not like Morgan and Joe, you know, but we had a good camp. And Will called me and he said, he said, Rooster, how much you pay Adrian Dantley? I said, he gets the top of the list. He gets $250. He said, I want $300. I said, Will, I'm not giving you $300. He said, I'll bring Earl Jones and I'll bring Michael Britt and we'll put on the show. I said, all right, I'll give you the $300. So he comes, and Earl Jones and Michael Britt were both All-Americans, put on a show that you wouldn't believe. And so I said, come on, I'll write you a check. He said, I don't want a check, I want cash. So I got to go to the bank and get cash. He said, not only you got to go get cash, he said, this is how I want it done. I want two $100 bills and two $50 bills. So I said, all right. So I got the money, and he, left. And the next day, I called him. I said, Will, what was that odd breakdown on that money? He said, one of the hundreds was for me. The other 100 was for me, and they got $50 apiece because they know who in the hell the star is in this show. And that was Will. I mean, he was a star everywhere he went. So anyhow, the last story, well, Lefty Driesell called me one day and he said, Red, what do you know about Will Jones? I said, I know a lot about him. He said, what do you think he'd be as an assistant? I said, he'd be great because if you hire him, you'll get every good player in the D.C. area. Lefty said, I'm going to hire him. So Will was going over for an interview. And he was very impressive, very brash, as usual, telling Lefty, hell, they'd win the world if they just hire him. So Lefty hired him. And the second day there, they had a recruiting meeting. And Lefty says, Will, you're the D.C. guy. We got two All-Americans right in our backyard, Billy Bryant and JoJo Hunter. We need to get at least one of them. And he says, if you get one of them, I'll buy you a brand new suit down at Britches. And Will, being brash, said, what if I sign both of them? He said, Will, you can't sign both of them. He said, I heard Billy wants to go out of town, so if you hire one of them, I'll get you a suit of clothes. Will comes back. But, Coach, what if I hire both? What if I sign both of them? Lefty said, all right, Will, damn it, I'll buy you two suits if you sign both of them. 2 days later, he signed both of them. He called me on the phone. He said, Rooster, he said, I signed both those guys Lefty wanted. He said, he'll never know it, but I talked to him on the way over to my interview, and they agreed to go before I ever took the job. He was the best, a great friend, and, we miss him because he added so much color to everything, and he did a great job as a high school coach, a great job as an assistant, and a great job as a head coach at UDC. He was so much better. He was flamboyant and colorful, and everybody thought that he got by on personality, but the guy could really coach the game, and I sure miss him. Thank you.
It's your turn.
As if we need more color on Will, Mr. David Carrasco, son of a recent inductee.
when I rise to speak with you about the Willie Jones that I grew up with, was amazed by and loved, the title of a play by the African-American writer Lorraine Hansberry comes to mind. The play was entitled To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. I met Willie, as we called him then, when I was 12 years old, and he was 18, young, gifted, and black. I met him in a gymnasium at American University as he joined my father's team, and we stayed friends until he passed away 60 years later. I remember him as gifted in many ways, and here briefly are 4 of the gifts he gave to me, to us, and to this city. The first gift was his supreme excellence as a basketball player. Georgetown coach John Thompson wrote about Will Jones in his autobiography, I Came as a Shadow. Quote, the tiny scoring guard Will Jones could have been great in the NBA. Little Will was a shooter's shooter, talked a whole lot of trash, and always backed it up. Elgin Baylor, in his autobiography, Hang Time, remembers Willie, as we called him then, holding his own at Kelly Miller Playground when Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain came to play. We learned that Willie's skills and verbosity made him a DC playground legend and the most colorful performer in the Baylor Chamberlain games. Willie would challenge Wilt mercilessly, and even Baylor, who was on his own team. Will announced, quote, nobody could shoot like me, and I was yelling at everybody that they better either pass the ball to Wilt, Elgin, or me. But it was like every shot I'd take, Elgin would be up in the air, catch it and dunk it, and I'd be yelling, leave my shot alone, expletive. It's going in. Willie's emphatic gift for scoring scared Division II national champion Evansville College when Willie scored 54 points in front of 10,000 hometown fans and before the three-point line, nearly dethroning the host team. Following his college career, not many know this, he played for the Baltimore Bullets of the Eastern Professional Basketball League, along with Bill Spivey and Sherman White, 2 players who were barred from the NBA for apparently gambling. Today, they'd be celebrated and multimillionaires. The second gift he gave to us was his gift of courage. He played basketball as a form of racial fight back in hostile arenas. The tougher and meaner the setting, the greater he played. Penny Green remembers how he was part of the Greater Good 7 players originally selected for the All-High team who walked away from the All-High All-Prep game in protest of the segregation policy of the Boys Club of Washington. Green says that his prowess as an athlete was tremendous, but nothing impacted me more about Will Jones and his heroism during the boycott of 1956 against the Boys Club of America. It is difficult for us to appreciate what it was like for the first racially integrated team in the D.C., Maryland area to play basketball away games in the all-white Mason-Dixon Conference. Even Loyola of New Orleans canceled their game with American U because they couldn't stand to have Will Jones, Dick Wells, and James Howell, African Americans, show up and play on their court in New Orleans that year. School after school resented hosting racially integrated teams who also had a Mexican-American coach. I witnessed the racial epithets and slurs aimed at Will Jones during warm-ups, and he would dribble the basketball over toward the insulters and say, "You cursing black? Gonna show you what black is." And he'd go hit 3 20-foot jump shots in a row and dribble back and say, "Now that is black. You want some more of that black?" Willie Jones made our lives happy with his basketball wizardry and courage. Look at where he broke the records, mainly his own. 41 points, 44 points, 54 points. All of those were away games in front of hostile crowds that cursed, spit, and threatened him. He was courage on the court. The third gift, as in the case of many coaches here, was in coaching and mentoring young men, especially young black men, but also women. Sports Illustrated noted Will Jones' recruiting talent, quote, "In the most amazing recruiting coup the college game has seen in recent years. Will Jones persuaded 6'11", 250-pound Earl Jones, no relation to Will Jones, the most highly publicized high school player in the nation last season, to forsake the glamorous heavyweights of Division I for Division II UDC. As was mentioned, he hired the NCAA's first female assistant basketball coach, Cheryl Roberts, and she remembers, quote, he had the kind of rapport with these young men that was like of a caring father. And a lot of these young men didn't have fathers. He really cared about them." Willie Jones's fourth gift. I've been talking about gifts. I'm an anthropologist. What we learned from anthropological studies of gift giving is that when people give gifts, often those gifts have a spiritual power in the gift that is actually greater than what was intended, whether the gift is in flowers, in rings, in food, or money, or time offered, or love. There's a mana, a soul, a spirit greater than the physical gift. We also know that each time a gift is given, it carries an obligation to the gift receiver to give something back. And that's why I've come here today. When Tommy Amaker came to coach at Harvard, Will called me and insisted, "You got to meet my guy." Will had mentored the young Amaker, who's here today, and so through Willie we met. We became friends and collaborated at Harvard on Amaker's basketball and innovative educational program that includes the now internationally famous Breakfast Club, of which all of you will want to become honorary members, believe me. Willie's gift of Amaker and his educational excellence has enriched my life and work with Amaker and his great coach, Red Jenkins. This is Willie's last and best gift to me, a gift about lineage and the education of the up-and-coming, an education and athletics that looks back to those who are here today, who made history, but also forward to those who are making a new history on and off the court. This message is Will Jones's fourth gift for me, for those who are young, gifted, and black, and who are other than that as well. He sometimes said to an opposing player after he scored on them, "In your eyes where beauty lies," meaning I just put some beauty in your eyes with my amazing move. Thanks to the committee that chose him, he puts beauty in our eyes, along with these other Hall of Famers, and it's our happy obligation to tell everyone we know about all of them, and certainly the wonderful Will Jones. To me, he is always young, gifted, and wonderfully black. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Great perspective. Fantastic. The next inductee, Stan Kernan. Great player, great coach, coached both boys and girls to state championships. And I'll be interested to hear what Coach has to say. Somebody that did the same, not won championships, but coached both boys and girls, said, you know, the difference is this, is that girls think you're the greatest. You have to prove you're an idiot. Guys think you're an idiot. You have to prove you're the greatest. So, Stan, I wonder if that's the case. We'll know in a little bit. Let's watch the video on Stan Kernan.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Stan Snooky Kernan.
Stan Snooky Kernan is a legendary figure in the world of basketball, having left an indelible mark both as a player and as a coach. Growing up in Northeast D.C., Kernan honed his skills on dirt courts, eventually becoming a pivotal member of the renowned Fabulous Five at McKinley Tech High School. He garnered widespread recognition as a three-time All-Met player, dominating the scoring charts and leading his team to multiple championships. After serving in the Navy during the Korean War and impressing with his basketball prowess on the All-Navy team, Kernan caught the attention of college scouts and chose to attend McNeese State University. His college career was exceptional, earning him All-American honors, and would twice be named the Gulf States Conference Player of the Year. In his 4-year college career, Snooki averaged 19 points a game. He was ranked 10th in McNeese's all-time scoring chart. He led them to 2 league titles, and he was a 3-time Cowboy MVP, all while earning a notable place in McNeese's basketball history by eventually having his number 25 retired. In 1988, Kernan was inducted into the Louisiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Transitioning to coaching, Kernan's impact was just as profound. He took the reins as the boys' basketball coach at Parkdale High School in its inaugural year in 1969, and over the course of his coaching tenure, achieved a remarkable feat, winning high school basketball state championships with both the boys' and girls' teams. A total of 4 championships spanning different years. The only coach in the state of Maryland to ever do that. Snooki retired in 1988. His leadership and guidance not only resulted in championships, but also positively shaped the lives of countless individuals beyond basketball. Kernan's legacy was celebrated by former players and coaches and community members during a tribute on his 90th birthday, a testament to the enduring impact he had on the sport and the lives he touched. The court at Parkdale High School is now named after him.
He was a game changer on and off the court as a coach and player. Coach Kernan, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame. Player. Coach Kernan, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Coach, before we bring you up, let's hear from one of his most storied players and a member of our committee, Mr. Penny Green.
Good to see you, Coach. Good to see everybody. Coach Kernan had a big influence on my life. And Coach was all about the fundamentals. I remember when I got to college, I was starting as a freshman, and I could hear him in the back of my head. See the ball in the man. See the ball in the man. Okay? You had to play defense for Mr. Kernan or you didn't play. And so it was a pleasure playing for him. And then as a research guy, I started looking at the history and realizing he was in 2 Olympic trials. He was sitting on a boat at the in the Navy. They said, "We heard you could play a little basketball." Several months later, he was representing the U.S. Navy in the Olympic trials. Another one of his feats, 38 games in a row at McKinley Tech, the Fabulous 5. And he hits the winning shot with 3 seconds left in the game to maintain a 38-game win streak. So he was about, being the money man. So it's guys like that you meet in your life. They instill confidence in you. Everybody says, Penny Green, you seem to be one of the most confident guys I ever ran into. So guys like Stan Kernan are the reason that I have that kind of confidence. And it was a pleasure playing for you, Coach. And a lot of people said I was the only guy that you, gave the green light to. But I ran the light, but that's okay. Come on up, Coach Kernan. Coach Kernan.
Thank you very much. This is quite an honor to be inducted. There's such great athletes and great people involved in it. It's just one's here tonight. Johnny Holiday, they used to play against him, and I used to play against Willie Jones and Elgin Baylor. And had to play against all the great players. And I learned a lot coming to these. I also learned a lot about being a coach. That you're not the most important thing, things. And I just, everyone that I played against, something in my life. Who right, who lost, it doesn't matter. Just the people you meet. You meet a lot of great people. Girls and girls in Europe, so look to how it is. But they live, and she done that people like Ben. A lot of words that I had, and I worked so English. We were good friends for the whole job, all of the last one of my favorite. I appreciate you very much and how you doing. I just want to show what I did tonight today. I deserve it all. Four person, great people, treating people with respect. I hope that they treat me the same way. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Coach. Would like to present this award to you, Coach Stan Kernan, McKinley Tech Fabulous 5, McNeese State, Parkdale High School, 2 states, championship boys, 2 girls. Unfortunately, we just got a county championship, but thank you so much, Coach. Main man, bucket getter, 25 a game. Yes, wet buckets, DMV. That's what we do for America, provide buckets.
Coach, you more than deserved it. You more than deserved it. Congratulations again. Our next inductee, what a rare thing. Us DMV, we're pretty protective of our area and our basketball prowess. And this girl's from Jersey. My, oh my. You must really be qualified for us to make that waiver. So, Crystal Langhorne, national champ, WNBA champ. She just wins championships. Could have used her at the Ryder Cup and the Solheim Cup, Crystal. Would have been nice. Let's hear about Crystal.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Crystal Langhorne.
Crystal Langhorne is a graduate of Willingboro High School in New Jersey, where she was a first-team McDonald's, Parade, Street and Smiths, and WBCA All-American. She was the MVP in the 2004 WBCA High School All-America game and led her team to 3 straight Group 3 championship games. During high school, she earned the New Jersey State Gatorade Player of the Year award twice. Crystal chose to play for the University of Maryland. She emerged as a pivotal figure under Coach Brenda Frese's guidance. She led the Terrapins to a national championship in 2006 as she etched her name into the record books and ultimately earned a place in the Maryland Athletics Hall of Fame. In her freshman season, she was the ACC Rookie of the Year, and she's the first player in the university history to score 2,000 points and grab 1,000 rebounds for either the men's or women's teams. During her Terrapin career, she was a 3-time AP and USBWA All-American, a 2-time WBCA All-American, a 4-time All-ACC honoree, the 2008 ACC Player of the Year, and Crystal was named the ACC Player of the Week 6 times during her career. Her Maryland jersey was retired and raised to the rafters at the Comcast Center during her last regular season home game. She was the first Maryland player to have her jersey raised to the rafters while still active. In 2008, Crystal was drafted 6th overall by the Washington Mystics in the WNBA draft. In her second season, she won the Most Improved Player award in 2009 and went on to win 2 WNBA championships and was named to the All-Star team twice in 2011 and 2013. After 13 years in the WNBA, Langhorne retired in 2021 and began a community engagement role with the Seattle Storm. Crystal Langhorne's success story epitomizes dedication, teamwork, and resilience. She credits her parents, who gave her the freedom to go after her dreams.
She's one of the most iconic Maryland Terps of all time. Crystal Langhorne, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad you guys let me slip in here. Yeah, I'm not from DC. I'm not from the area, but just to be included with such a rich culture of basketball in this area, I'm truly honored. So thank you for the committee for that. I would like to give a thank you to my family. My parents couldn't be here today, and my sister couldn't be here today, but my brothers are here. If anyone knows me, they know the reason I started playing basketball was because I was tall and my brothers played. My brother Chris, I used to go to the gym with him, and my other brother Crichton, he actually convinced my dad to let me play on Sundays. My dad was like, she has to go to church, she can't play. And Andy was like, she's good, you gotta let her play. So, luckily without them, I wouldn't be here. And now my dad loves going to basketball games. He goes to games on Sundays, so he's changed as well, a little bit different as well. So love you guys, thank you guys for being here, and my whole family. And then my second family, my Maryland family. I really built a whole nother family in this area. I have to give a shout out to the woman who convinced me to come to the University of Maryland, Brenda Fries. If it wasn't for her, I would not be here. And then also all of the support I get from all of the Maryland families, Cheryl, Mary, you guys are here. You have been here since I've been in college, supporting me as well. And then my teammates, my sisters through basketball, some of my best friends, Marissa Coleman, Laura Harper, Kim Rogers. They are some of the best friends that I have that I've built in this area. And even some of my teammates who couldn't be here today, Christy Tolliver, Jay Perry, Ashley Newman, Shay Duran, so many other teammates that I have that have been a part of my career, have helped me be the person I am today. And it just goes further than basketball. It's not just that. You guys know how close we are. So thank you all for being here today. And thank you all. This has just been an honor. I'm not going to talk your heads off. That's not my style. So, but I'm truly honored to be here. Like I said, I know how much basketball means to the DC area. And for me to be able to be a part of this, it means so much. So thank you.
Porch to where, porch? To get up that railway.
I'm sure Brenda thinks that was a really good trip to Jersey that day. Mark, she said she had to go. It was good. It was a good thing. It was a good thing. Our next inductee, may he too rest in peace, Earl Lloyd, blazed the trail. And if we could think about it, I probably need to bring David back up here, but a la Jackie Robinson, he was the first African-American player in the NBA. But we know basketball's a little tighter, and those insults that David spoke about, they were probably a little bit more well heard. Chuck Cooper Jr. is here. Chuck's dad missed being the first to play in the NBA by what, one day, Chuck? And he said the Coopers and the Cliftons, Sweetwater Cliftons, and the Lloyds have stuck together for years. They blazed the trail together. We can only imagine, of course, if you read some of the books, you know, you don't have to imagine what they had to endure. So what an accomplishment. He's one of our own. He's one of our own. A college coach at West Virginia State University, the college coach at West Virginia State University, Brian Poore, is here. I spoke to Brian before today's event began, and he reached out to Earl going back to around the break of the century, around 2000, and got Earl to come back to West Virginia State and really honored him. They have a beautiful sculpture of him on the campus. And he said two things about Earl, and anybody here that knows Earl would know this to be true. He said, whenever I saw Earl, he was always in a good mood. And whenever I saw Earl, he always asked about my family first. So obviously you don't blaze trails unless you're a quality person. Let's watch this prospectus on Earl Lloyd.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, the late Earl Lloyd.
Earl Lloyd had a decorated basketball career at Parker Gray High School in Alexandria, where he was a 3-time All-Conference player and twice named All-State, graduating in 1946. He went on to star at West Virginia State University, where he led the school to multiple conference and tournament championships, was a 3-time All-American, and was awarded the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association Player of the Decade. In college, he was nicknamed the Big Cat because of his unusual quickness and powerful jumping ability. Drafted by the Washington Capitals with the 9th selection of the 1950 draft, Earl Lloyd became the first African American to appear in an NBA game October 31st of 1950. He paved the way for generations of players to come. He spent 9 seasons in the NBA, appearing in 560 games, averaging 8 points and 6 rebounds. He's a member of the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Lloyd was drafted into the U.S. Army and served time fighting in Korea before returning to the NBA, where he holds the distinction, along with teammate Jim Tucker, of becoming the first African Americans to win a championship ring, which they did with the Syracuse Nationals in 1955. And he was the first player from the DMV to win an NBA ring. Beyond his achievements on the court, Lloyd's legacy extended to coaching and community service. He became the NBA's first black assistant coach and the second African American head coach. His dedication to uplifting his community led him to serve as a placement administrator for Detroit Public Schools and as an advocate for underprivileged children, teaching them job skills. His influence also extended to the corporate world, where he played a significant role in recruiting young black executive talent. While his basketball achievements are awe-inspiring, Lloyd's humility stood out. Despite being a groundbreaking figure, he remained humble and focused on the game's growth and the betterment of his community. His legacy lives on through the documentary The First to Do It, which celebrates his contributions to the civil rights movement, professional basketball, and his post-basketball career. He was married to his wife Charlie for 40 years, and they had 3 sons.
Known as the Big Cat, his nickname in college, Earl Lloyd, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame. Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Earl, I know you got in the Naismith Hall of Fame first, but this one's a lot tougher. To my left is his son. Let's welcome Kevin Lloyd. Kevin?
Good day, everybody. Good day, everybody. I'm not going to hold you up. I'm just going to say, first of all, thank you, Mr. Rick, Mr. Penny Green, the Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame, for inducting my father into this amazing Hall of Fame. My family, David, Kenny, and me. And Charlie weren't able to be here today. And my beautiful wife, Callie. I want to invite Mr. Dave Bing to come on stage, please, to speak on behalf of my father and Mr. Brian Ford, Coach Ford. But thank you, everybody. Let Dave Bing and Brian say something, please. Thank you. Earl is something I wasn't ready for this, but Earl Lloyd I met when I was at Syracuse University because Earl played for the Syracuse Nats. And by my senior year, Earl was promoting me to be the player of the year. We became very good friends. And then I had the chance when I got to Detroit to play for Earl. Got to know him very well. And he was a great individual, one of these self-assuming guys. All the things that he had accomplished was never about him. It was about everyone else. On my retirement from basketball, I started a company in Detroit, and Earl called me and said, if you're going to be successful, you're going to need somebody that got your back. Let me work for you, and I've got your back. You don't call me Big Cat for nothing. So Earl worked for me for about 7 years in the community, and I miss him. He was a great guy. I got to know Kevin, his brother Kenny, and brother David. He's got a great family, and I miss him dearly, and he's very deserving. The statistics that we accomplish as athletes, Earl wasn't this scoring champion, he was a rebound champion, but he did so many things behind the scenes to make his teammates better. He made me a better person, and I'm very honored and happy to have had the privilege of being around him for as long as I did. Thank you, Kevin.
Good. Get out, buddy.
Mr. Bing, I agree. Kevin just told me, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes ago, hey, I'm going to bring you up and have you speak a little bit. But it's an honor. I was named the head basketball coach at West Virginia State University in the spring of 1999. In the spring of 2004, we brought Mr. Earl Lloyd back to campus to retire his jersey. He finished in 1950, but that weekend changed my life forever. That gave me a weekend to get to know Mr. Earl Lloyd as a person. We've all seen and heard he's the first black basketball player playing a game, first to win a championship, first to be an assistant coach, second head coach in the NBA, first full-time head coach in the NBA, first executive with Christ, all that stuff. And it, that's awesome. But once you got to meet Earl Lloyd and you knew him as a human being, that changed your life. He was the most caring, humble, appreciative person I ever met. A few years after that, we spent a lot of time those next 11 years before he passed away in 2015. We brought him back, unveiled a statue, all those good things, spent the night with him in his home, went down there in his home. Then we went back to do a documentary, start that documentary, the first to do it. When I was in his home, I didn't recognize. I was just there with him, watching NBA playoff, just talking basketball. Didn't notice anything in his house. When we go back to do the documentary, we start looking around. There's not one picture, trophy, book, artifact of any kind in his house that ever told you that he ever played basketball, let alone be in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame and to be the first black basketball player in the NBA. Nothing. You never knew he even played basketball. And then Kevin was walking the producers around, Cootie and Chike, and opened up the closet door in the den that a few years earlier I was sitting watching the NBA playoffs, Oklahoma City playing San Antonio Spurs. I remember who was playing. He opens up that closet door. In the floor of the closet was his Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame trophy. That's how humble this guy was. He didn't have it on display. He was just like all of us. And like Mr. Strickland said there, Coach Strickland there, Pete and I go way back, Morgan Wooten Cants, and it's an honor to see him. But he was just such a humble, caring person that if you didn't get a chance to meet him, you missed out. I was fortunate enough to do so, spent 11 years. Every time I ever called him, he always asked about my family and how I was doing. Did anything I ever ask of him with our program, talk to recruits, come back to campus, all those things. He was just an awesome human being. It's an honor to be here to represent West Virginia State for Earl Lloyd. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask one more thing of you guys, please. If my father, Earl Lloyd, crossed your path in any kind of way, or folks are here for me, on behalf of my father, will you please stand? Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Mayor Bing. I just like saying mayor. I know you're not. I mean, you were mayor of Candy Cane City before you were ever mayor of Detroit. Just remember that. Next gentleman will be inducting. Johnny will call him a trusted voice on the video we're about to watch. And he was just that, and still is, and a trusted man. A trusted man. Just like if you're a luminary and you haven't been interviewed by Barbara Walters, you're probably not a luminary. If you're involved in basketball in the D.C. area and Butch McAdams hadn't interviewed you, you're not a luminary in the basketball area. Someone many of us know, maybe knows more of us in this room than all of us do, though we all know each other. Let's watch this video on James, never knew your first name, Butch, James Butch McAdams.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Butch McAdams.
In the illustrious realm of basketball, few names resonate as enduringly as that of Coach James Butch McAdams. A luminary figure in the D.C. region, his legacy is etched not only in the courts, but also through the airwaves, where his voice has become a beacon of inspiration and insight. Coach Adams is a native Washingtonian and grew up at the corner of 14th and T Streets. He played basketball in the playgrounds and in high school with the greats of that era. He went to college at the University of the District of Columbia. He went on to have a remarkable 36-year career coaching and teaching at the Murray School from 1973 to 2009, which also included a 2-year coaching stint at his alma mater, Mackin High School. His mentorship and leadership have left a positive mark on generations of aspiring athletes. Beyond the court, Coach embarked on a second chapter, one that resonated across radio waves. In 1992, he stepped into broadcasting, seamlessly transitioning into a role where he became a storyteller, an interviewer, and a trusted voice. The Butch McAdams Show on WOL 1450 and the In and Out of Sports podcast became platforms where narratives unfolded, where stories were told, and where the essence of sports and community converged. He has interviewed every major local basketball player, coach, author, contributor, and numerous legends from the world of sport over the last several decades. Butch McAdams wasn't just a coach or a broadcaster, he's a bridge builder. His partnership with the legendary Georgetown coach John Thompson and his role in establishing a haven for local youth at Murray School showcased his commitment to community enrichment. Through the love of basketball, he sowed the seeds of education and opportunity, guiding young minds toward paths they might never have imagined. In 2017, the DCSSA Hall of Fame welcomed Coach McAdams into its esteemed ranks, a fitting tribute to a man whose impact extended far beyond wins and losses. He has stood as a symbol of unity and purpose, embodying the spirit of the district and its boundless potential. His mission then and now is to tell the story of the DMV.
Known for his radio tagline, "Make good decisions, because life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid." Coach Butch McAdams, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
So 2 things. People were wondering the ballot. So, Butch is on our committee. So I went out to get something to eat, but it was tied, and Butch had the last vote. I don't know. I wasn't sure what happened. I had to go to the restroom. But you're not surprised to hear, and I think this demands applause. I will try to elicit it. Today is the first day he's ever missed doing a show. Today is the first day he's ever missed doing a show. But he quickly added, but Pete, I did leave a tape. I did leave a tape. Speak on his behalf. Let's welcome Joe Madison. Joe?
Someone once said, blessed are the brief because they'll be invited back. And I will be brief. You missed your show? Oh, see, I was the program director at the time he came on WOL, and well, I guess we would have let him off for this, but let me first say this about all of you. You all should be on Butch McAdams' show. Every last one of you. There are young people right now, Dave, who need to hear what I've sat here and listened to. I've listened to people who have talked about the combination of qualities that you all represent. And what is needed now with most young people in this city and across this country is that they need to develop the kind of character that I've witnessed in this room today. There's a difference between reputation and character. Reputation is what people think of you. Character is a combination of qualities that you possess. And maybe if you go on Butch's show and they hear your story, please, all of you. Many of you are celebrities. I know how difficult it can be to do these shows. But young people need to hear this. And maybe instead of picking up guns, they'll pick up a basketball. And so Butch came to me and, said, well, I do sports talk. And we at the time at the WOL, I'm at Sirius XM now, but it was like politics. I don't know what my place would be. Butch, sports is politics. Sports is politics. And so that's why he came on the air. And because he was on, we went from this little ratings bottom where we were, and he was on late at night, and we were even at the bottom at night. But when Butch McAdams came on, he had three things going for him. One, he was original. Two, he was authentic. And three, he was daring. And that's really what means a special person. I don't care if you're a broadcaster or whoever you are. Those three things is what and why he should be and is in this Hall of Fame. So I don't know if who is programmed on your show now. Oh, you? Okay, well, hell, you can. Let me tell you, being a program director like I was, and I never will be again, it's like being a coach. It's like being a coach. You got a bunch of characters, and don't even mention names. You got a bunch of characters who may or may not show up. And I'm an old athlete too. And hell, you don't show up for a game, you're gonna be benched. But the one thing about Butch McAdams, he always showed up. Always showed up. So again, I'm looking around. Dave and I go back to Detroit, and I see all of you. I know you're great people, but I'm telling you, if he calls, please do his show. Please let young people hear what I've heard here today. Butch McAdams, you are the man. You are the man.
Y'all see these shoes he's wearing? The video did say that I was right. Well, hey, the video did say, where did I grow up? Lloyd Mays. Where did I grow up? 14th and T. All right. I am so much, well, first of all, Joe, I want to take a poll because I do believe that at least half or more of the individuals here have been on my show. If you've been on my show, please raise your hand. Thank you so much. I am so much better talking about other folks than I am myself. I'm not good at talking about myself. And I learned that years ago from my parents, where they would always say to be humble, act like you're used to something. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes thanking so many people in this room. And what a room this is. I mean, this has to be basketball heaven. I mean, some of the greats of the DMV are in this room, generations. And my Mount Rushmore, and I post different things on my social media page just to get a discussion. My Mount Rushmore, which is 4, not in any order, but this is my Mount Rushmore. Y'all can disagree with me afterwards, okay? I know some of you will. Dave Bing is here. Adrian Dantley is here. Elgin Baylor is in heaven. And Kevin Durant is still playing. So if you don't want to put Kevin Durant in it because he's still active, then I'm going to put Austin Carr. But that's my Mount Rushmore. Now, it's just so many other greats. But I want to start off, as I said, thanking so many people for coming out today. I want to thank my family there. Andrea, thank you. I want to thank my nephew, Julian. I want to thank my great-nephews, Malik and Makai. And, of course, Andrea's in-laws, my friends. And there's some special people. Everyone's special. But in terms of me coaching, if it weren't for this man, I don't think I would have been coaching, because he was the one in 1969 ran after me 4 times and said, I want you to coach my team. And at the time, I couldn't believe it. I said, man, I'm not a coach. And then he sent my friend. And my friend said, Father Kemp says he wants you to coach the team. And I said, I told Father Kemp I'm not interested. He saw me again after church. I want you to coach the team. And I said, okay. These were my exact words. I want to coach the team 1 year just to get you off my back. Don't ever ask me again. Well, that was 1969. And from 1969 to 2007, with exception of 1 year, I didn't miss coaching. And thank you, Father Kemp. Thank you so much. Joe Madison was up here. Joe was the first one to put me on the air full time. When he was the program director, as he stated, he said, hey, D.C. is a sports town. We got to have a sports show. And he believed in me. And I thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. I want to recognize Dallas Grasty. Dallas was like a mentor to me, a big brother. And he was the one who got me into radio. He was friends with Miss Kathy Hughes. Shout out to Miss Hughes and Dewey Hughes. And when Miss Hughes was transitioning WOL from music to talk, he went to her and he said, are you going to do a sports show? She said, well, you have to see the program director. The program director was named Larry Hicks. So Dallas went to Larry and said, are you doing sports? He said, yes, we want to do sports. He said, do you have anyone? He said, well, we don't have anyone definitively, but we're talking to a guy from Pittsburgh. And y'all know Dallas. Dallas said, Pittsburgh? You can't have somebody from Pittsburgh talking DC sports. And that's how I got the job. That's how I got the job. Then, when WOL merged with WOLB in Baltimore, now y'all know DC and Baltimore close, but it's a big difference. And it's a big difference. And Baltimore don't accept outsiders. So Will Jones, the aforementioned Will Jones, called me and said, hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to hook you up with some people in Baltimore. They'll take care of you. And these two people are here today. I got a guy, you talk about history, Joe, and guests. Cleve Brister, raise your hand, Cleve. Cleve Brister is the godfather of Baltimore sports. This guy, Dave Bing, had the great distinction of guarding Elgin Baylor and coaching Will Jones. And so he took me under his wing, and I said, well, you know, Baltimore's a little rough, but I'll figure it out. So I said, let me get a couple more friends. And another friend was a guy named Mr. Melvin Williams. And if y'all ever had a chance to see the original gangster, he was one of them. And the other friend is here, Mr. Leonard Ham, former police commissioner. So I felt pretty good walking around in Baltimore. I knew Cleve Brister, I knew Melvin Williams, and then I knew the police commissioner. I call him my brother, Leonard Ham. Thanks for coming. Thank you so much. Growing up, we talk sports. I've been doing sports probably all my life. And my good buddies here, Ron McLean, Ronnie Davis, Mike Riley, I mean, I can go on and on. We talked sports when we were 8, 9, 10 years old, right? Right, Donna? And we would be on my front building, 10, 11, 12 years old, arguing sports. And if someone, this was before computers, but if someone wanted to argue or debate a fact, I'd reach in my back pocket, and what would I have, Lloyd? Sports Illustrated, okay? And we would do that. I also want to thank Mr. Randolph Horton. Mr. Horton, stand up, please. And I'm going to say this. For the particular show that I'm doing now, it would not be a in and out of sports without Mr. Horton. Because this particular show, I own the show. So instead of the station paying me, I went out and got my sponsors. From day one, Mr. Horton, I approached him, I said, hey, I want to do a show. He said, come by tomorrow and see me. Went by, didn't have to explain nothing. He just said, what you need. He said, this is all I want you to do is to tell our story. And that's what I try to do every Sunday or every time I get in front of the mic, is to tell our story. Finally, I want to thank my basketball family from Moray's here, Greg Taylor, Tom Cheney, and then Mackin. Sugar Bear, we call him Mark Spence. Sugar Bear is here for, and all you DeMatha guys, you know, Perry Clark, I love you anyway. Even if you went to DeMatha, and just so many outstanding people. I see Coach A.B. Williamson, Darryl Prue, Ricky Goins, just so many people. And hey, as I always say, make good decisions because life is hard, but it's even harder when you're stupid. DMV in the house, Ray Savoy, okay, and all the other guys. And Wendell Hart was like my unofficial program director for several years. He would listen, and he was a good friend of Miss Hughes, and so he would say, hey, you're doing well, keep it up, or you need to do this. I just want to thank everybody, and hey, this is one of the best days of my life. Got to end with this. We talk about Coach Thompson and Will Jones. Well, listen to this, I had the unique blessing of being in the back seat of Coach Thompson's car, okay? And in the front seat was Coach John Thompson and Willie Jones. You talk about a basketball clinic and a clinic for life. I'm 22 years old, and I'm sitting in Coach Thompson's station wagon with Will Jones and Coach Thompson, and these guys were bilingual. They spoke English, and they spoke in tongues. Thank you.
And right, that's your black. Ellen, look. Okay, so there. That does keep. We're nasty guys from what?
Thank you, Butch. Very deserving, as all. Glad to hear the police commissioner is here. So, bad news. So, there's exits in the back. So, Pet is outside. Apparently, Butch killed 17 snakes for those shoes. So, we're going to all have to exit in the back right and back left. And I wouldn't walk with Butch. I think there's some issues here. So, Pet is protesting outside right now. What are you going to do? I mean, they just followed you, Butch, I think. The next gentleman will be inducting. Thanks for everybody's patience. Appreciate it. What a special day. He was kind of the first lefty Terp, really. And I think, so I grew up here, and to me, there's 4 seminal events in our shared basketball history. And, of course, it's very subjective. When DeMatha beat Kareem, I mean, Butch, you thought I was going to talk about Mackin? I mean, please. Well, as the cynics will say, what about the game before when Kareem won? Why don't you guys talk about that game? And then I remember when Bob Bodell, who's here, Bob, raise your hand, please. When Bob stole the ball. When Lefty came here and he was going to be the UCLA of the East, Bob steals the ball, throws it to Howard White, recently featured in the movie Air. Howard gives it to this next inductee, Jim O'Brien, and they beat South Carolina 31-30. And that, I think, was the beginning of the resurgence of the college game. The third event, and I think it coincides with many of us here, Big John got to the hilltop. And we know what that spawned. And then, Brenda, Title IX finally came. It took a little while, but it got there. Those are 4 events I remember particularly. And I was at the game, like 7 million other people, when Jim O'Brien made that shot. I had my lefty tie on. I was caught up. But a great Terp, and one of the first Terps of Lefty's era. The new inductee, let's see what he had to say. He had fun playing, didn't he? He had fun playing. Jim O'Brien, let's watch.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Jim O'Brien.
Jim O'Brien was a 2-time first-team All-Metropolitan at Stewart High School in Falls Church, Virginia. He led the state in scoring in 1968 and 69 with averages of 28 and 31 points a game. Jim was a high school academic All-American and received the Virginia High School Player of the Year award for his outstanding play. Many still regard Jim as one of the finest high school players to ever emerge from Northern Virginia. O'Brien's collegiate career was destined for glory as he became one of Coach Lefty Drizel's most celebrated first recruits at the University of Maryland. And there, he joined Terrapin teammate Howard H. White, who Jim says was a big reason why he joined the team. In his 3 years as a starter at Maryland from 1970 to 1973, Jim made the All-ACC second team in 1971, and the Terrapins won the NIT in 1972. Jim's remarkable contribution saw him finish his Maryland career with a 15-point-a-game average and leaving as the school's 6th all-time leading scorer. After college, Jim was selected in both the 1973 ABA draft and the NBA draft. The Indiana Pacers, then of the ABA, selected him in the third round, while the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers chose him in the third round as well. He played for the New York Nets and for the Memphis Sounds in the ABA, ended up winning an ABA championship in 1973 and 74 with the Nets, along with fellow teammate Dr. J. Julius Erving. In 1975, O'Brien signed with the Cavaliers of the NBA and was waived before the season began, as that opened up the door to playing in Belgium for a year, an experience that he says was one of the best of times as it allowed him to travel and to see the world. Jim credits his oldest brother, Bob O'Brien, who taught him how to play basketball. Bob's rule was very simple. Jim, you can play with us older guys as long as you don't shoot. Jim transitioned to a successful post-career in the mortgage business. He lives in the D.C. area and is engaged to Teresa Wall.
Thank goodness he stopped listening to his brother and started shooting. Jim O'Brien, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Jim?
Well, it certainly is a privilege to be amongst this group. Before I get started, as a fan, there are a few people that I wanted to recognize who were people that I don't want to say idolized, but people that I certainly respect. Ming was the first pro that I ever played against. I was a sophomore in high school, and believe me, that was a thrill, and I couldn't guard him like I couldn't guard anybody else. Second is Phil Schneer. I went to the USA Olympic camp in Colorado for 2 years. And I told Phil earlier this evening, without a doubt, by far, he was the best player in the camp. He didn't go back to school, he left and went to the Bullets, which we were all grateful for. And another great is Adrian Danley. AD, I don't know that you remember, but I played against you when you graduated from high school in the Jello Fleet. And I said to the guys afterwards, that guy can play. He's ready. He's ready. He doesn't need to go to college. And another guy's Tommy Amaker. I admired your game, and I'm sorry you had to play for Red, but you can't have everything, right? There are, if we could take a moment, there are several people that I've played with, either in Maryland or otherwise, that passed. If we could take a moment, I'd like to say Buzzard back, all my guys know, Sugar Brown, Helicopter Brown, and Coach Billy Hahn, who just recently passed. And I would like to say that I believe that when you mention people's name, they get a check upstairs. So I always like to say that. Played with those guys. Secondly, I'd like to thank the committee for this selection. Saw Mike earlier. I played at Carolina. I can't remember a guy at Carolina giving Maryland a vote. So that's a big event. Coach Jenkins, we had some extremely good battles. Mr. Flanagan's here, who was co-captain of the team, and he was lamenting earlier about how bad a coach you were, and I stood up for you. Also, Brian Magan, I want to thank Brian for the vote, and we will consider Brian a Terp, because I know what it was to play for Lefty, believe me. It's a good thing the portal wasn't in then. I'll say very briefly, my basketball philosophy has always been one thing. I never played defense. That was for Bodell. He guarded my guy and his guy. My theory was, I'm going to outscore you. No matter what, I'll outscore you. So I took that philosophy all through. It didn't do too bad for me. As Johnny mentioned in the
film there. My brother taught me to play. 4 years older, and I'm actually from Uniontown, Pennsylvania. And so when I wanted to start playing, he did say, you can dribble and you can pass, but you're never going to shoot. I said, okay. And we played against the Uniontown Red Raiders. They had won 3 state championships, and my brother played against them. And believe me, he more than held his own at 6'1". He was not tall. But he was the one that got it all started. And I played against that team. That team was voted, I was in 8th grade. That team was voted Team of the Century in Uniontown, in Pennsylvania. So they had some pretty good players on that team. I want to recognize, as we all know, what makes you as an individual is much more than basketball. And I can tell you that when I went back, we go back to the University of Maryland for events, the most players come from our team. And I think they come from our team because we were winners. Everybody on the team cared for each other, mostly. They cared for each other, and to this day, they care for each other. It's a wonderful, I would not have chosen any other school because of the friendships that I've made. That's what life is about, having people that you care about and people that care about you. And as a recognition, I'm done with basketball, as a recognition, a few guys, Paul Ahern, who I played with at Maryland, his 2 brothers, they have been adopted by the University of Maryland guys. They play a little golf as well. Mark Townsend. Mark played in the Montgomery County League with us. He thought he was Tiny Archibald, so we calmed him down a little bit. And he became a much better player. And without a doubt, since I've been 17, every stop of the way, and every event that has happened in my life, this guy's been a part of. He sort of took my brother's place as a big brother to be with me along this trip. Bob Bodell and his wife. As Johnny said in the film as well, I was in the mortgage business thanks to Bodell. Yes or no, I don't know yet, but and there's some mortgage guys, Michael Ahern, Dave Hurt, especially Mr. Bolger and his wife. And without question, for the last 10 years, and I don't know how he's done it, Mr. Reese has been my partner. Mr. Reese, if you'd stand up. There you go. And the interesting thing is, as athletes, you get tense sometimes and you get into arguments. Mr. Reese and I have never had an argument. Pretty good for having a partner. There are a couple of other guys who are friends, dear friends. Alan Ahern is right there with his brothers. And a special recognition for Mark Cameraman. He came, even though he didn't think I was good enough to get into the league. And he's a golfing buddy and a cigar smoking buddy. So it's special to have him with us as well. Last but not least, my grandson's here. He's a basketball player, and he's point guard. And I keep telling him to shoot. He hasn't gotten that down. He wants to pass a little bit. But he's got a lot of heart, and he'll be there one day. Hopefully he'll be here one day. Especially my fiance, who is the most giving, loving, and caring. Please don't go to her for a problem because she'll want to cure it. And we can't take in any more tonight. And love her dearly, and a special, special person to me. So I want to thank everybody. Rick said he gave me 7 minutes, so if I went over, too bad.
How many here have had knee replacement or hip replacement? Raise your hand. Okay, whoa, okay. You haven't played if you haven't had one of those. Last but not least, certainly, our final inductee. So before, where's that grandson? Where's that grandson? Okay, you know, have you heard of Steph Curry? Yeah, well, there's no Steph Curry if there's not this guy first. You know, I followed Dennis Scott's career, as we all did, because he's one of us, and I knew he was accomplished, but it wasn't until I heard Johnny's recounting of his career and the records, my gosh, that he had set as a player, not just here, winning a national championship with Prospect Hall, but at Georgia Tech, part of the Lethal Three, and then, of course, in the pros. I had no idea, and I followed his career closely. Let's watch about some of the accomplishments of Dennis Scott, our next inductee.
The Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame is proud to honor this year's 2023 Hall of Fame inductee, Dennis Scott.
Dennis Scott's basketball journey began at Flint Hill Prep in Oakland, Virginia, where he played under the guidance of Coach Stu Vetter. As a four-year starter, his Falcons teams achieved a top national ranking during his senior year in 1987, as recognized by USA Today. Going undefeated in his junior and senior year, he was the Washington Post Player of the Year, a McDonald's All-American, and a Parade Magazine All-American. Stepping onto the college stage, Scott continued to shine. A pivotal figure for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, he led the Jackets to consecutive NCAA tournament appearances, highlighting his exceptional talent and leadership. His junior season, 1989 and 90, was a defining moment as he guided the Yellow Jackets to victory in the ACC Tournament Championship. Recognized as the ACC Player of the Year, he propelled the team to the coveted Final Four of the NCAA tournament, an achievement that solidified his place among the sports elite. He was one portion of Georgia Tech's Lethal Weapon 3 with Kenny Anderson and Brian Oliver. Scott's decision to enter the NBA draft after his junior year marked another turning point in his remarkable journey. The Orlando Magic welcomed Dennis as the fourth overall pick in the 1990 NBA draft. His impact on the court was profound, earning him the nickname 3D for his mastery of the three-point shot. In the 1995-96 season, he set an NBA single-season record for three-pointers with 267. He also etched his name in history by making a then NBA record 11 three-pointers in a single game. His legacy as a three-point specialist would inspire generations to come. This year, Dennis became the 12th member inducted into the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. In 2002, Scott's legacy was etched in history when he was named to the ACC's 50th anniversary men's basketball team, an honor reserved for the 50 greatest players in ACC history. As Dennis reflects back on his playing career, his proudest achievement were the great relationships he established with his coaches and with his teammates. Currently, Dennis serves as an NBA TV analyst and commentator for Turner Sports Network. He loves being around the game that he once dominated. He and his wife Rachel have 4 kids.
Known as 3D for being one of the NBA's greatest three-point shooters, Dennis Scott, we welcome you to the 2023 Washington Metropolitan Basketball Hall of Fame. Basketball Hall of Fame.
Man, everybody okay? Everybody still awake? Everybody's a little frozen, a little chilly in here. So I'm not going to take up too much of time, psych. When I got this phone call, I was super excited, so I thank the committee for making this afternoon come to a reality. So as people, my family notice, I have this long list in my pocket, but I know I'm not going to look at it. I can't. And the reason I can't, because everything that I've been through to be here is ingrained in me. So I asked the first question, how did I get here? Well, Dennis Scott Sr. and Elizabeth Scott had me in Hagerstown, Maryland.
And I used to walk the streets of Hagerstown with a dream of changing my mom's situation, changing how my family was being looked at. So I used to go to this park in Hagerstown called Wheaton Park. And a young woman by the name of Miss Ruth Ann, who was Rodney Monroe's mother, some of y'all may know Rodney Monroe, went to NC State. She had this basketball camp when I used to just walk every day. And then I'd be shooting in the park at night, and because obviously I was one of the biggest kids in the neighborhood, you start shooting the layup, then you start shooting the free throw. And then I gravitated out to the hash mark, and I started shooting it. And it felt real natural to me. So this gentleman said, "Big fella, why are you shooting way out there?" I said, "'Cause I can." Well, you know, big guys are supposed to be in the paint. I like shooting out here. This is easier. So I'm glad I didn't listen. So then my mom and dad get a divorce, and we moved to a small town in Leesburg, Virginia. And that's where most of my family was on my mother's side. And there was a gym called the Douglas Community Center. Same situation. I used to walk to that gym every day after school, put up shots, play pickup. You're in 6th and 7th grade. Well, I wanted to play with the 9th and 10th and 11th graders. I wanted to play with the older crowd because I knew that's where, quote unquote, the talent was. That's where, as we say now, the competitive spirit, that's where the best players were. So that's why you want to go play against those guys. There's one thing that's been missing throughout my story that I have to tell that people don't understand. I did attend Loudoun County High School for 1 year. But at that time, I didn't realize my mom had started me early, so I was 14 years old playing varsity for Loudoun County High School. I just was playing basketball. I had no idea I was 14. And then someone told me I took that team to the semifinals of the state championship. We lost to a guy by the name of Kevin Madden, who went to UNC. Mike Pepper, remember him? Who could really play. When I came home that night, I got a phone call, and they said, "Stu Vetter wants you to come to Flint Hill." I said, "For what?" I said, "I can't afford to go to Flint Hill. So why would I go to Flint Hill?" Well, because I played so well at Loudoun County, that's when my name became a household name in the community. Well, there's two gentlemen who were friends of mine in the neighborhood who attended Flint Hill before me. And without this first gentleman, if he doesn't go there and have a great experience, I don't think I even look at Flint Hill. So David Atkins, please stand up. This is the first man that opened up Route 7 for all of us to go to Flint Hill. I used to sleep on his couch. I used to kick him out of his bed. And his mom and dad accepted me as one of their sons. I used to eat up all his food. I used to drink up all the Kool-Aid because they treated me like family. The next gentleman went to Flint Hill after David, Brian Damalik. This is my A1, day one, life one. Please stand up, Brian. So I said, "Coach, I think I'm coming to Flint Hill," because of those two gentlemen right there. Because they told me the experience you have given them the chance, keyword chance, of getting a scholarship. The NBA wasn't even on my radar at the time. It was about getting a scholarship. We used to sit there and watch ACC basketball. We used to watch the Big East tournament when it was just becoming the Big East back in the day. And that was the dream. Do you get a college scholarship? That was it. Education, like we preach. But that's all you really wanted, to hear your name called, starting at forward, out of Reston, Virginia. But what was the school going to be? I had no idea. So that journey through Flint Hill, I thank Stu Vetter, I thank all my teammates for putting up with me. Obviously, I ask for the ball all the time down the court, of course. I'm always open. As any point guard that ever played with me, I'm always open, so just make sure you pass. And then, next thing you know, we played in this little small gym that maybe had, 3 bleachers, so all of our home games were at George Mason University, the small gym. And the recruiting process was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Because you would look up there, you see John Thompson, you see Lester Giselle, you see all these coaches. Like, man, they're coming to watch me play? Really? This is exciting. But there was one person that, I don't care if we was in Hawaii, Virgin Islands, we're in New York, I always look and saw this guy, I'm like, what in the world is he doing? We're talking about recruiting today, right? Now you got the computer, you got your laptop, you got your iPads. It's easy to find a kid. You send a video, recruit my son, recruit my daughter, what have you. But that guy over there, Perry Clark, will you please stand up? Perry Clark was everywhere. I'd go to the bathroom, hey, you okay, you okay, you okay? Man, what are you doing? Follow me to the bathroom. Hey, we need you at Georgia Tech. I know I went to DeMatha. I know. You almost went to DeMatha, but you went to Flint Hill. But we need you at Georgia Tech. Perry Clark was everywhere from the end of my sophomore year and junior year. The Dean Dome had just opened. Georgia Tech lost by 33. I'll never forget this story. Bobby Crimmins runs up to Perry Clark. Dang it, I think we lost in the sky. We just lost by 33 points on national TV. Perry being Perry, Scotty. Called me Scotty back then. Scotty, are we still good? Me being me. Nah, coach. I think I'm staying home. I think I'm going to Maryland. No, Scotty, no. About 2 or 3 days went by. I said, all right, coach, there's 2 things you have to do. If you do these 2 things, I'll come to Georgia Tech. So he calls Bobby and says, Bobby, we got to do it. He said, what is it? Well, at that time, Georgia Tech was wearing Converse shoes. And if anybody's ever played basketball, the weapons that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were wearing, I said, oh, bless you, Jesus, I'm not wearing those. No, sir. What do you need, Dennis? I need to be able to wear Nike. And I need you to call Augusta College. That's where Brian DeMollick was at the time. And I said, I need my A1 day one because I've never been down south before. I heard all the great stories, but I'd never really been to Atlanta or been down south. Never been out of DMV my whole life. I'm born in Hagerstown, Maryland. Played in the Jella, played in Sidwell Friends, played in the Kenner League. I went to Nottoway Park. I mean, I'm DMV. I wanted to go down south, so I said, I need my best friend. Bobby called me and said, all right, Dennis, you got to go to class. Check. And you can wear a Nike, and Brian DeMollick's coming. I said, I guess I'm coming to Georgia Tech. So all these relationships that we have and we go through, it's all because of the round ball. So when I'm thinking about it, I want to give Reggie Kitchen, for some of y'all remember that name, he is my A1, day one AAU coach. Philadelphia, exactly. Another gentleman by the name of Pee Wee Banks from Alexandria. He was another AAU coach I played for. He was another guy that instilled play hard all the time, and everything else would take care of itself. Play hard all the time, even when you miss shots, things will take care of itself. And everyone knows I wasn't a great defender, but Bobby says, give me the effort, and I'll let you be you. And that's how I became ACC Player of the Year. And to this day, another stat I didn't know, that 990 points in one physical season is still an ACC record for now 33 years. Not Michael Jordan, not the great Limbaugh. So when I heard that record, I said, wow. So I always tease my son now, your dad was a bad boy back in the day. Then we come home from the Final Four. Coach comes to my room. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Coach, I'm staying. He says, no, you're not. I said, what? I said, I'm loving it. I'm having fun. I'm going to be around my teammates. He goes, no, you got to get out of here. I said, you sure, Coach? He said, I've done all my homework. I've talked to all my NBA resources, and they said the worst you're going to go is 5. I go 4. So, Coach, thank you for kicking me out of school. So as I stand here, I see all these familiar faces, and it's just exciting. And Adrian Dantley, you don't understand. You really don't understand. Those nights you used to kick my ass. Those nights that David Falk introduced us, and I came over to your house, and you got me on the treadmill and you kicked my ass. Because I thought I knew what hard work was until I met AD. So AD, thank you. Thank you very much. Tommy Amaker, when they talk about professionalism, they talk about doing things the right way. When they talk about every time you step in the room, make sure you step with your best foot forward. Tommy Amaker, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I'm going to close with this one. I got so many stories and thoughts I want to tell, but I think this is the proper one because we've been here for a while now. Being on NBA TV, being on TNT today, and I've had numerous people come to me and say they like the way I dress or how I sound, how articulate I am. It's literally coming from my heart and coming from my gut. That's all I know. And where am I going with this? I'm about to tell my age on this, but this is the fun part. Who remembers that old show used to come on TV called The Sports Machine? Say a little bit louder for me. Does it sound familiar? George Michaels is why I love sports talk radio and TV. He made horse racing at 11:30 at night, and I don't know a damn thing about horses, but during that number 6 horse goes around the block again. I'm like, okay, I think I might like horses. That's because of George Michaels. And last but not least, Washington, D.C.'s own, who's a mentor today, and I speak to him maybe once a month now, is the great James Brown. JB on the sideline, interviewing us when I was a kid, hearing his story, how he was a great basketball player, but played football, goes to Harvard, goes against the grain what everyone else is saying he should do. So I remember when I was transitioning from the NBA, or what did I want to do? You want to coach? Nah, I don't want to coach because I know how we are. Nope, I don't want to coach. No, sir. The late Craig Sager and James Brown said, just be you. I said, that's all I know. So here I am 16 years later, starting my 16th year now with Turner Sports and being a part of NBA TV and TNT. It's literally, I promise you guys, it's literally because of George Michaels and James Brown. So please give those two gentlemen a hand for me. So we always talk about family, so I have to finish with that. So my oldest son, Ryan, couldn't be here today. He had to work. He was my first passenger on this journey I've been on because I was 17 years old when he was born. Then I go get drafted number 4 to Orlando Magic, and that was probably the wildest, fun, craziest adventure being a young man in Orlando trying to figure life out. Then I have my daughter Crystal, who's here. Please stand up, darling, who just turned 30 years old. So through this journey of life, I've had some great times, I've had some bad times, I've had some sad times, and I always tease people around me, I say, it's called life. It's what it's called life. So I think through some of my mistakes and some of my greatness prepared me for today. And today I have a beautiful wife, 8-year-old son, Trey, please stand up, and Logan Scott, please stand up. That's my 18 and 50-year-old. So there's nothing more today to make sure I'm there for them. I try to take them to school. I try to do everything possible. But now, as you know, if anyone has a 15, 16, 17, they don't want nothing to do with dad but give me some money and get out the house. That's all they want. And last but not least, my mom. She just turned 80 years old. She's in a nursing home in Atlanta right now, 3 miles from us as a family. And she's my wife. Still to this day. I thank all you guys for coming out. I thank all the familiar faces. I thank you for all the love wishes. And I'm just Dennis Scott from Hagerstown, Maryland, DMV forever.
What a wonderful event, huh, folks? Family, a lot of family, a lot of love. So just carry it on. Keep it on, right? Keep in touch with your friends. Keep in touch with the basketball friends. I would ask all of our nominees to inductees, please come up here. We're going to get a picture. And all of you are welcome to hang around. We'll get some pictures taken. And thank you for coming to this 42nd Annual Hall of Fame. Thank you. Hall of Fame members, please come up. Kevin, come on up.